So here we have co-founder of MAWD. James, welcome on the podcast. It's great to have you. Have you ever thought that you could be anything other than a designer?
Yes, I haven't. Well, maybe something in film or animation. I think it's still something creative.
Getting into architecture school itself, what's the story behind it?
One of my relatives gave me a rotring pen for a birthday once, and I started getting into drawing technical drawings and getting more into that side of things and how you create and build things. AI is something different that's kind of creating imagery now that can be used as references that have maybe got more free form, flowing, different ideas, unusual combinations.
So what's the vision from here on from MAWD?
So we really want to expand here in the Middle East and to grow our Dubai studio, and really to make sure that we're at the heart of what's happening.
James, welcome on the podcast. It's great to have you here. So here we have co-founder for MAWD. James, tell us about your journey. How is that you happen to become an interior designer, and how MAWD happened with Elliot in 2010?
So we, myself and Elliot are old friends from university. We were studying architecture, and we both worked at different architectural firms, leading firms in London, and decided, at a certain point it'd be good to do some projects together. So we started working on small-scale residential projects in London, and pretty swiftly that grew to bigger projects. And at that point, we crossed really over from architecture into interiors fully. I think a lot of the work that we've been doing in London always has an interiors focus. There's a lot of refurbishment and interiors work. So back in 2010, we decided to start our interior design studio together. And
which school is it you guys study together?
So we're Oxford Brookes, and Edinburgh, UCL. So but I think we first met as friends at Oxford Brookes.
So 2010 MAWD happened. Before that, were you guys working? Were you working elsewhere?
Yeah. So I was at a firm called Stiff and Trevilian. Elliot was at Lifshitz Davidson, and both architectural firms. But from there we progressed and moved into interiors.
Was there any pivotal point where it led you to think, what, we got to start off with MAWD?
What, the starting point? I think it was. Because we got to a point with the companies we've been working with where we were both quite senior, and we got to a point where we really enjoyed what we were doing, but we were kind of intrigued to do things by ourselves and be our own bosses and really lead the projects ourselves. And that was something that I think really intrigued both of us. So we started it, and from there, it was really a series of events and projects that started to happen that allowed us to scale up pretty quickly in the first 3 or 4 years.
And today you have your studios in New York, Los Angeles, Dubai, and London.
Yes. Yeah.
So tell us the journey of how you started off, and then also I see that you worked in projects over 20 cities plus around the world.
Yeah. Yeah, we're properly global now. We've grown from that London base. New York was the first international studio, and there was a kind of key project for us, which was the Greenwich back in 2016, and Raphael Vignoli building, really beautiful architecture, and we got involved with that. And it was one of the steps that helped us in terms of gaining more international experience and particularly moving into residential development. Until that point, we'd been involved in mainly private homes and special projects. And whilst we'd done some developments in London, we hadn't done a 300 unit scheme, for example, with leading amenities. And you can imagine at that time, the amenities offering with amenities right at the top of that building, 90 stories, was incredible. So that was the kind of the spring point that allowed us to open an international studio in New York. Elliot now leads the US studios based in LA. A couple of years after that, he opened the LA studio. And in the last 1 to 2 years, I've moved here to Dubai and opened our Dubai presence. We've had studios, experience in the Middle East. Our projects going back 12, 13 years. I've been working in Saudi, Qatar for a long time, but we never had a base here, so it's really exciting now.
Have you ever thought that you could be anything other than a designer?
Yes, I haven't. Well, it doesn't come to me that often because I'm so busy. But
Okay.
yeah, it's. I think maybe something in film or animation. I think it's still something
Why?
creative. Because I think I was just I've always been creative and had that kind of want to to draw to create beautiful things. So I guess animation was always a kind of dream. But then with the kind of sensible side of me, it's like, well, I should have been a property developer. I mean, that also gives you all the kind of the fun that you get with architecture, but the scale of development and the business side, which I think would have been interesting. But it's probably still both quite close to my origin, being an architect and interior designer.
Getting into architecture school itself, what's the story behind it?
That's
What led you to meet with Elliot, and then series of events have happened, and here you are today.
So what was the whole process of you getting into even studying architecture?
I was always interested from the artistic side. Art and history were big passions for me, and they were the subjects I was good at. So, there was I think one of my relatives gave me a rotring pen for a birthday once, and I started getting into drawing technical drawings and getting more into that side of things and how you create and build things, and from there it was kind of a natural progression into architecture. When you think about the history combined with the creativity, I think is.
And so your work, especially it focuses on elevating spaces into emotional narrative-driven environments. This is what I gather. And as seen in projects like the EGG working space in Tokyo, what is that ethical dilemma that you face in balancing the maximalist trends with functional user-centered innovation in luxury hospitality?
Maximalism and functionality, yeah. Well, I guess that's kind of interior aesthetics, which is the result of, for us, a lot of research and thought and work with our clients in understanding what kind of product they want to deliver, and what the vision is. So, there are certain projects where having a little bit more maximalism coming through is natural, and particularly in hospitality-led spaces, it really helps. But at the same time, you need to control it and get the right balance. Some projects with the hospitality feel are going to need more of that, and some less. With EGG that in Tokyo, was a lot of that was kind of focused around quite clean spaces. It's Tokyo, Japan. There's a certain aesthetic that we wanted there, but also a sense of warmth. We had a kind of centerpiece, a gathering fireplace, which is a great thing to get people, to kind of congregate. Even in projects where maybe not finished, as soon as you put the fireplace in, it becomes the point where you hold a meeting. There's a sense of that. So, I'm not sure I answered your question, but
No, get the sense. What's your design philosophy like progressively? How has it evolved? Right now, what is your process and philosophy with design?
Yeah, so I think you'll see throughout our projects there's a kind of sense of warmth and home
Yes.
that will be in every different area that we work and every project. But you'll see a lot of variance because of the global nature of the projects. The location is super important. A coastal project in Miami or LA is very different to, a project in London, more of a city focus, and the same in New York. So that location is really important, and that's the layer we bring in with architectural influences as well. Making sure the interior and the exterior have some form of connection, and then understanding who we're designing for. The guest and the buyer experience is super important, and that also, when you combine that with branding and the right kind of, creates a beautiful story that is different for every project. So that kind of underlines the process for every project that we approach. Even private homes, when we work with private clients, it's a similar thing.
And what would you credit that, DNA in you guys, that you have clients all over the world?
And that's like 15 years. It's not like too much time, I would say.
So many cities around the world, multiple offices, which means clients do trust your work. What would you say that this is what MAWD does, and as a philosophy you and Elliot do and your team does, that builds in that trust and it goes on with the clients?
Yeah, I think it's the attention to detail that we have to those different processes. The fact that we really bring that layer of something different. We don't have a style that you could say is a house style. We have that sense of warmth that runs through everything. But I think it's that something unique. A lot of our clients want something different in the market, whether it's a developer or hospitality brand or a private client. They want. I think the unifying thing is that we'll create spaces that feel a bit different to everybody else and are personalized as far as they can be, either for the buyer, guest, or private client. And I think that background of coming from some of the high-end homes and the yachts that we've been involved with, it opens up a world of detailing, quality, and craftsmanship that I think just sets projects apart. So we use, obviously you can't bring that to every project. You can take influences and use ideas and work with certain suppliers that maybe you can develop a product that works for a more of a commercially led project. But it's that detail, that craftsmanship that underpins it.
And with the emergence of AI integration to the it's penetrated into every industry. From your perspective, how is AI impacting your whole process?
I think we're at a really interesting point with it. We've experimented with it, just in terms of how can it create interesting spaces. There's a lot of AI generated imagery, and as designers, historic references are very important. We've always traditionally looked back, coming from architectural backgrounds, you look at some of the spaces, the proportion, symmetry, and the kind of classic rules of architecture and interiors that are really important. AI is something different that's kind of creating imagery now that can be used as references that have maybe got more free form, flowing, different ideas, unusual combinations that probably creates a bit of different creativity, but we're not sure how it's going to impact, and is it going to have an aesthetic, or is it going to have that creativity, fluid forms? Is that going to start to influence things? I think we can see it already coming through in lots of projects. So I think we're at that point where I like to see the next steps, and I think obviously how we can harness AI as businesses is.
And what's your opinion on
Sustainability is the buzzword. And the more I talk to people, there are different perspectives to it.
with your work and with everything you do? How much is the context of sustainability important for you?
Yeah, it's very important, obviously. Being designers that work across the residential sectors, hospitality, but commercial a little bit as well. I think the building requirements for LEED and WELL have driven a lot. Making sure that what's being delivered by the architects is of a really high quality, and that means that for us as interior designers, we have to also really think about our processes and how we're putting pieces together, how we're putting schemes together. We started our own furniture collection,
Yes.
mainly as a research element initially.
And why? While you could easily work with someone else, why? What was the reason behind you guys getting into the furniture side of it?
It was. I think Elliot and I were both curious about how we could create pieces that were more conscious, but felt a bit more crafted.
Conscious in the sense with materials, or
Yeah, the choices that you make for materials. A lot of, for example, our pieces are 90% recyclable. They contribute to the building's WELL score. The materials are clean, and that ingredient, the thought that goes into the furniture, was really important. We found there was a lot of, when we first started researching, because we needed in some of our projects build furniture that contributed to the WELL score, and we found that a lot were just timber with some basic detailing, and the more luxurious forms and materials, the leathers, the fabrics, finding pieces that contributed was particularly difficult when we started the collection a couple of years ago. And we wanted to use it as a way of exploring what materials can we use that can help with this, which are the right leathers, which are the right fabrics.
as an interior designer, what scope do you have, integrating the ESG standards and sustainability and all of it? What scope do you have beyond materials?
I think for us, it is key, the materiality that you choose. The architectural scope is much larger in terms of...
So which means working with manufacturers or conscious.
Local sourcing as much as possible, always.
Is that part of your process for any projects work, local sourcing?
Yes.
Okay.
We definitely try. Obviously, working globally, we don't have studios in every location. So, for example, when we work in Asia, we will select materials in London, and we will work with our partners out in Asia to find more locally sourced materials.
So, what's MAWD's, where do you guys stand currently? And of course, we know about your offices and the demand that you guys are generating with the clients or the work that you have. But what's the vision from here on for MAWD?
So we really want to expand here in the Middle East and to grow our Dubai studio, and really to make sure that we're at the heart of what's happening in the region. We have obviously connections into the market in Asia as well with some of our work, and we're much closer to that market here from Dubai. So that's particularly at the moment, that's a key.
And with the interior design, as a profession, where do you think this is going in the sense now AI is coming in and it produces a lot of imagery and all of it. You think it is going to in a sense take away is it going to reduce the number of interior designers that are required, or is it going to enhance the work of an interior designer? Have you thought something like this, especially with so much happening around the AI and things like that?
It's a difficult question, and we I think the kind of classic principles of proportion and symmetry that I mentioned before are something that human eye needs to look at and create and work out.
So you're basically referring nature-inspired designs.
It's architecturally inspired, so going back through history, proportion, symmetry, some of the key rules. I think having that visual, that the human eye, and being able to create an interior and see what's right and see what's wrong is very difficult to do through AI. And I think we have to see how the technology progresses. Certainly at the moment, you can't do the kind of things that we do as interior designers with, getting spaces to look and feel the right way, and getting the right arrangement of spaces together. So it's more, how can it help us expand creativity? There is a point where you maybe have too much of it, so you need to get the right balance.
And do you
visit universities or coach students
to learn more of design and things like? Is that part of your?
Maybe that's for the future.
Okay.
Yeah, it started actually. I went to an event earlier in the week, and there's again a topic that came up, and it's interesting as you get older. Yeah, it could be really great to get involved in that side of things.
Right. And is there anybody that you've been inspired with, the great designer or the work that you have admired? Are there such inspirations that either MAWD or you have, considered?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, coming from architecture, there's so many amazing architects that I grew up researching. I've met some of them now, which has been incredible over the years. Worked with some of them. We work with some of the best architectural studios. But going back through history, like Carlo Scarpa is one that, I think both for myself and Elliot was an amazing reference for a lot of projects, just because of the creativity, the materiality. Is really something that you can look back and use now as references for projects. There's a classic creativity to that. Some of the Italian furniture designers were just going back to the 50s and 60s, were incredible as well. And it's always nice to look back at and get inspiration from these.
Well, James, it's been an interesting
conversations from your history to where you guys are at, and it's fascinating that you have clients from so many places, especially as an interior design firm that you work. So I wish you guys the very best for this region, and we will continue having chats like this in the future as well. But thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing your
process and all the information that you have given us today.
That's great. Thank you so much, Ravi. It's been it's a great event, and thank you for having me today.